Pamir.
Yep.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the R&R&R Show. My name is Ruel Gaviola, joined by my fellow co-hosts Chris, George, and folks. Very special episode today. Look, we've got someone in the middle. I don't know which one I'm supposed to be pointing, but Mike from the One-Stop Co-op Shop is here. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show. This is
Awesome.
exciting.
And we just got rated by Losapalooza. Thank you, Losapalooza, for rating. Let us know what you're up to. And folks, if you'd also help us out here, big favor, audio and video checks. Y'all know how that works here on the internet. It is wacky. So let us know if we need to adjust volumes. If you can hear and see us okay, that'd be great.
And if you can hear all of us too, that's
all
always
of
helpful.
Us. That's right.
Thanks, Luza. Thanks, Losapalooza. R. Barrett says, what do all the R's stand for? Well, we got Rahdo, we got Ruel, we got me, room and board, and then we got the Rop. That's it's official rebranding for the One-Stop Co-op Shop.
I didn't get the room and board either. I thought there were only 2 R's, and you were just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah.
No, this is gonna be a great show. I can tell you that right now, folks. Lizapalooza was just playing Cosmoctopus. Nice. That is the new game from Lucky Duck Games. Did I receive a copy? I'm gonna be getting a copy soon. I'm excited about that one because that's the game by Henry Audubon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you all.
Parks, right? Yeah, Mike, go right ahead.
Can we do like story time? Am I breaking the format of the show?
This is the pre-show. We
get to do whatever the heck we want. So Henry's a friend of Peter, my co-designer, co-host on the podcast with me. And we were hanging out with him at the last PAX U, and he was like, "Hey Mike, do you want to play my next game?" And he just started going off on this literally insane diatribe about Cosmoctopus, because I don't know if y'all are like aware of the theme of Cosmoctopus, but like he's talking like he's not trying to pitch a game. He's talking like he wants me to join his cult, like drink some Kool-Aid with him. He's like, do you know the glory of the Inky realm, Mike? Do you want to like come and listen to the words of our Lord and Savior, the Cosmic Octopus? And I was like, oh my gosh, Henry. And then I played the game and it was great. but yeah, Cosmoctopus, that is a wacky one. I'm glad you're going to get a chance to play it. That's pretty fun. Oh, and I see Howard is here.
Hi, Howard.
Over Pumpkinhead over from our channels and such.
Nice. Pumpkinhead, welcome.
Hey, Pumpkinhead. Thanks for joining.
Great username, Pumpkinhead. It sounds like, okay, audio's good. Thank you, friends. Appreciate that. I'm trying to set the things there. Our heads are a little offset, but you know what? We have a special guest. I believe.
Honestly, Mike... what matters the most is that Mike is front and center. This is. I'm so excited that Mike is here, and we need to do everything Mike and One-Stop Co-op Shop today. And if it doesn't work for us, that doesn't matter to me whatsoever.
Exactly.
Mike's the real star.
I go the other way. Y'all are doing your show. I'm just here to chat for a little bit and probably mess things up.
It is exciting. It is exciting because the topic of the video, normally for those of you in chat who don't know, we'll hang out. This will be the pre-show, and then we'll record for YouTube, which will be a little bit more formal. We'll do our list, but this list is going to be the solo variants list, and so like what a treasure of a guest to have on.
Perfect guest
who can bring all of his knowledge and all the variants that like you've created yourself.
Yeah.
Are we planning about talking about those in the actual list, or should we just talk about them now?
I didn't put them on my list. I thought that would be a little awkward. and
I would like to change my list very quickly. Just give me one.
Yeah, but no, I do. I design unofficial solo modes. Someday I'd like to get paid for it, but that has not happened yet. But yeah, I've designed a bunch. Some of them are pretty popular. And next one I'm going to work on, I did one that's very popular for Undaunted Normandy, for my friend David Thompson and Benjamin Travis. What's?
Oh, I know exactly.
I always forget his co-designer's name.
Yeah.
And
one of them.
And then I'm going to try to port that over with adjustments to the Undaunted Stalingrad system, which I borrowed from my friend. So that's the next one I'm working on. Fingers crossed it comes together.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I love making solo variants. I do them for the community, but honestly, I do them for myself. I take games I love that I can't play as much as I want to, and then I make a solo mode for them.
Yeah.
Were you the one that did the Star Wars deck building game solo, or did I just watch your video?
There's a whole bunch on the chat on Board Game Geek that I found. I just did a video, a playthrough on our channel of Azure Death, Azure Death's solo variant. And I thought that was excellent. That was the one that I saw that had like kind of the most love on BGG. And I thought I did a great job. I was ready to do my own if there wasn't already a good one there, but I thought that was great. So no need to do extra work when there's already a really solid one in existence.
Yeah, is that the one that it has the additional player mat that you print out for the
it's very light, and he did a nice job of including like a printer friendly version and like a more full color version. The entire thing is like a double-sided rule sheet and 2 letter size printouts of player boards, and you're good to go. It takes like no time at all. Very easy rules. He has a video teaching how to do it. I have a playthrough teaching how to do it. So it's super easy to get into. At this point, I can fully recommend the Star Wars deck building game for solo play. I think it works really well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to try that one out because I love the game. Folks, if you want, be sure to find the video where I do a playthrough here on the Rahdo Runs Through channel. I love the game. I played it several times already, probably over a dozen times already, but I have not played it solo yet, and I'm going to use that variant. And I think that's why I was watching your video, because I wanted to see how it played. So, Durkadens, thank you for the follow. Folks, all the new followers, thank you. We appreciate it. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. In fact, you can subscribe for free. How? Glad you asked, Ruel. You can subscribe for free by using your Amazon Prime account. You get 1 free sub per month here on Twitch. And if you do, then you get one of those really cool stream avatars that just showed up on the screen, because I just got those to work. So you're going to see them
pretty good.
battle soon and whatnot.
That's pretty good.
Pumpkinhead,
Corinthian's in the house. Thanks for following, Corinthian.
Ruel's finally doing his job, and now everything's moving along like butter.
I'm totally sweating right now. I'm sweating through my shirt. Hey, speaking of sweating through my shirt, y'all may not have noticed, this is a Cephalofair Games shirt, folks. Ooh. They've got a pretty big thing going on tomorrow. Durkadens, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate it. You get your very own avatar now. Be sure to use that. You're going to be battling real soon. Anyways.
Well, look,
Durkadens.
Look, I'm working for Baby Yoda now. That's why I'm wearing this shirt.
Nice.
So nice. We all have jobs.
Yes, we all have jobs.
And I just got fired. Oh no.
No.
I didn't know this is how I was going to find out.
Maybe you work for the infinite darkness that is created by our Lord and Savior, the Cosmoctopus, right?
I think that is. I have fully embraced the Inky Veil, or the Inky Realm.
The Inky Realm.
Yes. I'm just covered in it. I'm just covered in it.
Ruel's dying.
I'm good. I'm back. Yeah. I still have that.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat.
It's like
yeah.
So Soli Dio Gloria, you did I did do my most recent one I completed was for Wonderland's War, unofficial solo variant.
Nice.
There are a few other ones. I didn't love the ones I looked at, so I made my own. I think it works great. There's a video on the channel of that. And then, oh, geez. Legends DM said I still love Salvation Road. That was the first game that I designed with Peter that was published.
I remember that game, with Van Ryder, right?
That's right. That's right. The early Van Ryder, like after they had done Hostage Negotiator and pretty much nothing else. And that was...
Wow. Zach Games, thank you for the resubscribing with Prime. Appreciate your support. By the way, Cephalofair Games, folks, tomorrow launching Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, the Gloomhaven
that's happening
RPG.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and the miniatures of Gloomhaven. It's going to be huge. Be sure to check that out. I am working with them throughout the campaign. Would love to see y'all over there on the page. What else did we miss here? Hi, Nuts and Volts. Love the username. Folks, we're getting real close to
that's Steve from our streaming channel. We have a streaming channel too.
Nice.
We have a lot of stuff.
I love it. You're bringing the whole crowd here. This is great.
Yeah, why don't you tell to those? I mean, I feel like a lot of people have come over from your portions, but why don't you tell people who may not know you sort of all the different spots where you're in?
Yeah, sure.
I got YouTube.
Yeah, so the biggest one is the original YouTube channel that was started by Colin, who's like our president, El Presidente. If you played, what was that game? What was the old like Banana Republic competitive game?
Oh
my gosh, Steve Jackson.
Oh no, I was thinking.
Anybody know in the chat?
All I know is Munchkin from Steve Jackson.
Yeah. This is going old school. I've been playing games for like 30, 35 years. Anyway, but yeah, so Colin started the channel. That was like 6 years ago. I think I joined about 5 years ago. So we do One Stop Co-op Shop. We do solo and cooperative games exclusively, including like solo variants, and cooperative being like fully cooperative, not like team-based cooperation. Colin started with just playthroughs. When I came in, I started doing the reviews. It's the 5 and 5 format. If you haven't seen them before, it's 5 minutes, 5 main points about the game. Because I like to do things quickly. I don't have much patience.
Nice.
And then we also have the streaming channel, One Stop Co-op Shop Streamed. We do mostly live plays on there. Plus, every Saturday we do a co-op chat. Usually that's Steve, joined by Bernd from Meet Me at the Table, who also does videos for us, and Kanji Studios, Derek from Kanji Studios, which is another streaming channel. And then we have a podcast. The podcast has actually been going maybe the longest or about as long as the YouTube channel, but it was called the Co-op Cast once upon a time. That was like 7 years ago. I started that with Peter. And now we have Jason Perez is also on our channel, who used to be on Dice Tower, and every night is game night. So he does playthroughs and he does podcast episodes. I think that's everybody who's in the crew. And yeah, we just, fun news, we were one of the runner-ups for the Golden Geek for podcast this year.
Nice.
Us and friend of the channel, Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire. I love her channel, love her
Liz
podcast.
is great, yeah.
So things are going great. We're very happy. We're about to hit 40,000 subscribers. We're doing a fun little like bonus video for that in about a week. I think that's gonna
wow.
hit.
That's so you were runner-up for the Golden Geek for the
yeah.
Folks,
yeah, I think the winner was, I forget what it's called. It's like a game show.
Yeah,
podcast.
This Game is Broken by the brothers
that's right.
from Paul Deming and Luzapalooza, who just raided us.
Oh, cool,
folks! This Game is Broken won last year. Let's make this happen next year. I'd love to see One Stop Co-op Shop win. So we're gonna start,
or Beyond Solitaire. Honestly, I'd be fully happy if it's Liz.
I would love to see a solo board game podcast win the Golden Geek. So you heard it here, folks. Let's get the ball rolling.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Fix the votes. Make as many accounts as you need. You have a full year to get 100 to 200 accounts. No excuses. Okay? Every time you play a solo game, you make a new account and you get ready to
there you
vote.
go.
They do go. Yeah, it's synergy, synergistic. You know, it's beautiful.
And again, what Chris is saying, folks, does not reflect on the opinions of Rahdo Wrestling Channel. Those are his own opinions. But hey, Chris,
these are Room and Board. Oh yeah, lay it all on Room and Board.
Yeah.
Smear. This is a smear campaign that Room and Board will happily smear themselves.
Exactly.
I'll cover myself in it. Why do you think I'm just covered in ink right now?
That's right. Chris, I wanted to ask you, how are things going? Did the play start already, or are you still in rehearsals? How's everything going on your end, my friend?
We're still in rehearsals. For those of you who don't know, I'm also an actor, and so right now, actually, Mike and I were talking about this right before we were bonding, because we both come from an acting background, which is awesome to know and to learn. But yeah, I've had a week of rehearsals. I'm doing Shakespeare by the Sea in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We're doing Romeo and Juliet and Pinocchio. Those are the two, Shakespeare's classic, Pinocchio. And and so, yeah, we're doing those two. We had a full week of rehearsal. We did Pinocchio in the morning, Romeo and Juliet at night, and then we'll shift into doing mainly Pinocchio until Pinocchio opens, and then shift into doing Romeo and Juliet, and then open that, and then run both of them. Do Pinocchio one night, Romeo and Juliet the next, and just juggle back and forth until the end of the summer. So it'll be good. The music's pretty fun in Pinocchio, and and there's this sort of like Italian dirge that our composer wrote for Romeo and Juliet that'll kind of like underscore as well, which will be fun.
Nice.
But Mike was saying that you were saying off camera about your last production of Romeo and Juliet, where you were Capulet.
Yeah. Two quick Romeo and Juliet stories. We'll just turn this into a theater podcast for a second.
Let's do it.
So yeah, I was playing Capulet, who, for those who don't know, Romeo and Juliet is the father of Juliet, and he's like not a nice daddy. And
he certainly is not. He's very abusive.
Yeah, and I felt terrible because we were doing a community performance, like not for the general like public, but we had some high schools come in, and the way we had it blocked, not my choice, don't judge me, but I slapped my daughter in the scene where she's refusing to marry Paris because she wants to marry Romeo, but he's been exiled and now she's stuck. She's already wed, but she doesn't know who to go with, and it's all very complicated. Yeah, so I slapped her, and the audience applauded. And I was like, this is not.
You're not supposed to be on my side in this moment.
I'm not the hero. Have you been here for the rest of the play? I'm sort of the antagonist.
To the title.
Wow.
But then another quick Romeo and Juliet story. This just happened this past week. So I'm a high school teacher. I'm the head of an English department at a high school. And one of the 9th grade teachers was doing performances of Romeo and Juliet to kind of cap out the year with her general students, like not kids who had signed up for theater, just like general students. And I volunteered to bring my English class down to give her an audience, and because I didn't really have anything to do the last week of school. It was the sweetest little thing. So a lot of the kids were very nice. A lot of the students like did a great job, even though, again, they weren't like actors. They were just the general population of our school. But there was this one girl who wouldn't get up. She was supposed to do a scene with Nurse and Juliet, and her partner wasn't there. She was clearly gripped by like crippling anxiety. And so first of all, I volunteered to play Juliet because, whatever. I've read the entire play a billion times. And yeah, like I just tried to like gently be like, it'll be okay. You can come up. And she got up eventually, and she was standing there. And she was like about to melt down. So I was like, just face away from the audience. We'll both like play the scene over here to the wall. So she turned away, and I was saying my line. And then like I held my script up for her and was sort of like showing her where the line is, like just trying to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah,
she finally got words out, and she like had all the emotion right. It was like the loudest, like clearest voice in the room. Like she was wonderful. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So I like made a point of going up to her like at the end of class. I was like, you were wonderful. You were so good. And she like hit her face and didn't want to talk to me at all. But I was like, oh, that's okay. Hopefully this is a good experience for you. So yeah, it was really like beautiful. Like yay, yay for theater. Yay for what you're doing, Chris.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what a great story.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know how to top that. I mean, are we talking about games after that emotional?
Hey, games have emotion too.
They do.
Games have emotion. Games have whole stories that you create. I want to talk more about Mike's other modes. How did you adapt Radlands to make it satisfying? Because I know you did an adaptation.
Yeah,
I just played Radlands for the first time recently, and I was like, man, this is fun. It's like one of my. It's a great 2-player.
I love Radlands, and I love Manny Tremblay's art, like in Radlands and Dice Throne. That guy is awesome. Yeah, that one actually came together somewhat in a straightforward way. The rules. I have a video of it. I think it's definitely the most popular variant I've seen, at least. I know like one of the couple of tabletop simulator mods even has it implemented like in the scripting. Like you can have my like solo variant like in there, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's amazing. That's cool.
But yeah, so it's pretty straightforward because the game is not like the toughest. So I just have random draws, and they're like playing the people. It's all about priorities. Like higher value people are worth more than lower value people. Their bases are worth more than any of their people, and then people who are already damaged and about to die are worth more than that. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. It's like a 1-card printout that has like the highest to lowest priorities and then like a 1 or 2 page rule set. But yeah, that's really about it. It's just flipping random cards and
cool.
Following the priority, because in the end, there's a lot of thought in that game, but there's also not a lot of thought in that game. You know what I mean? Like the AI tends to do pretty well, be pretty challenging. There's easy ways to make it like harder and easier in the variant. So yeah, that one was a lot easier. Like Wonderland's War was much tougher than that. Undaunted had a lot of, like my Undaunted variant, I love it. I like parts of it better than the official one and the reinforcements expansion. In some parts, I think they did better. They certainly had a better budget because mine was 0. but yeah, like Undaunted is kind of awkward because the official reinforcement solo variant, they did 1 for each mission, because you're buying an expansion, and like, so they have like multiple cards for every single mission for North Africa and for Normandy. for mine, I didn't want people to have to print a lot. I try to, whenever possible, just like have a sheet of rules and let you use everything else just in the game, and I kind of have like extra decks and all that kind of stuff. That's sort of like the ethos I go for with my variants, which is probably the exact opposite of what a publisher wants. Maybe that's why nobody's ever called me. They're like, wait, there's nothing for me to sell them. It's just it's just a free PDF online. So yeah, I guess that's a problem. But yeah, I don't know what I was saying.
You just got to start adding tokens. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for what.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter for what. Just player
add
tokens.
Minis. That's all you gotta do.
Tokens.
Add minis.
Yeah. Add minis. The solo mini variant.
So Normandy specifically was tough because I needed to have like a calculation of. Have y'all played Undaunted? Any of the games?
Yeah,
I haven't.
Love it.
Okay. Well, yeah, so Ruel, like, a big thing is controlling, like, the checkpoints, and, like, getting there. So I had to have this whole, like, little mathematically intelligent and logical way for the AI to be like, all right, which of these can I actually reach? Which one's worth the most victory points? Oh, crud, which one is the human about to get to win? And I think it came together pretty well, but it's still a little clunky. So I'm going to see if I can, with multiple years of hopefully wisdom built up since then, I'm going to see if I can make it work better for Stalingrad when I work on that this coming next couple of weeks.
How long does it typically take you to do? I mean, I guess it depends on the game, but the solo mode.
Yeah, it depends very much on the game.
Yeah, is it anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of weeks to a couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, like Wonderland's War, the most recent one I probably played. So for those who don't know, that's like a competitive kind of area control bag builder game. Really good game, although it's tough to find right now, but they just did a new crowdfunding campaign. That one was probably, I played it about like 5 times first, competitively, just to like, because I need to know how the game runs. Like, I'm not just going to make up a solo variant with just the rules, So I got a feel for that and got a feel for like kind of the powers and everything. And then I tried out a few different things. Like first I tried a full Automa where like they did everything a player did, kind of like I did with Radlands. Like Radlands, they basically follow the exact same rules as the player. But I didn't love that. And then I eventually went to like kind of a more simplified thing. So if you've played Wonderland's War, if any of you have seen Wonderland's War, they never bust. Like the push your luck game, but they never bust. Busting for them just means stopping. But the humans have advantage in other places. So I kind of took away all need to make complex decisions. The only like kind of priority decision making that the Automa makes is in which places to place their troops. It's kind of like, they want to get places that are empty so that they have the sole control of them. And they want to go where it's worth more victory points. They want to go where you're not as strong. So like there's a little bit of a decision process I had to like play around with there. But yeah, that one probably took, to actually answer your question, maybe like a week, with 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day, I would say.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, the longest one I've worked on is Exceed, which is a fighting, like 1v1 fighting game from level 99. But that one's because I keep on adding to it and like refining it, because I did it originally for they have like seasons in that game. So I did it for the season 3 characters, which was Street Fighter. And then I did it for season 4, which is Shovel Knight. And then I was kind of done with it. I was like, that's enough. But then they came out with Blaze Blue like a year ago. And they just recently came out with whatever season 6 is. It's a game I haven't heard of as much, like Under Night something. And yeah, with that, I've now updated it. So it's all like the fighters, except the craziest ones are supported season 3 through 6. So each of them has their own card. Each of them has their own rules. Each of them has like their own like unique things they do. That one's a lot. That's like my favorite one because I love that game so much. And I play it with my son. And then like when he doesn't want to beat daddy or get beaten by me, then he'll play the solo and I'll advise him on what to play. So like that's a nice way to kind of like cooperatively work together on it.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean it's fun. It's definitely work. Yeah, Collateral Damage. I can try to paste in the link to Twitch when I get a chance. I made a geek list that has all the ones I've done. But then also, if you go to the One Stop Co-op shop, there's a playlist with all the videos that connect to like my solo variants because I do a video for everyone. But here, I'll let some of y'all talk. I'm talking too much, and I'll.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna. For those of you in chat, you can do command. That's just the exclamation point followed by the word guest. And that'll give you the info on our guest Mike. You can find him at the One Stop Co-op shop on YouTube, and that'll have the links that you need to find those lists.
Yeah, it was cool. I was actually my geek list. I've never done this before. It was #1 on BGG for a while. It was like the #1 geek list for like 2 or 3 days before the algorithm viciously tore it back down. They were like, "Get in your place. You aren't that special."
Love it. Okay.
Well, in terms of, because like this is also really interesting to me, because I know a lot of people who are big solo gamers, but I don't dabble that much in solo variants, and so like even this list putting together, I was like, oof, I am not going to have too much to add, but I'm interested in like in seeing. And in terms of like your favorite solo variants, do you find they're ones that sort of replicate exactly what the experience is playing with others, or do you find that they give a little more of a twist or like a thinky puzzle? Like, what makes a good solo variant in your opinion, Mike?
Oh, cool. You got the link. Yeah, it's entirely dependent on the game and the player. So like we have a Discord, the One Stop Co-op Shop Discord. It's linked in all of our videos and podcasts, so you can find it pretty easily. But there's some people in there. We've had this discussion a lot. Like one user, Snow, she hates Automa. She hates like having to run somebody else and feeling like she's doing like the AI, you know.
Yeah.
And I get that. She wants ones where she doesn't mind if it's just beat your own score. She just wants to be able to play the game and not worry about somebody else. I tend toward, in both my Automa designs and solo variant designs, and also just like in my own playing, and you'll see this on my list, I tend toward games that replicate the competitive experience, because usually these are my favorite competitive games, and I don't want to be like, all right, so I'm playing Exceed, but instead it's how much damage can you do to a puppet, you know, like that's not interesting to me. Like if a game like Wonderland War has these 5 unique factions and all these cool chips, and I want to see that variety, but I can't get it to the table competitively as much as I want. If Exceed has like literally 16 or more fighters in every season and they each play differently, I don't want to like never be able to play them unless I get like a dedicated group, or unless that's the only game, like unless that becomes a lifestyle game for me. So I like the real Automa, but it depends on the game. Like I'll say games where what you're doing is interesting and exciting enough, I don't really care if it's a real Automa. Like I played a fan variant for Quacks of Quedlinburg. I love Quacks of Quedlinburg.
It's so good.
And for me, a lot of the fun of that is just putting stuff in my bag, pulling stuff out of my bag, deciding when to stop. Like, yeah, it's cool to see how the other people are doing it. Ooh, do I want to eke ahead of them to get like the die roll bonus or not? But really, in the end, like you cut the other players out of that, and that's still a fun experience, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I don't know, if I was playing like Risk and it wasn't a bot that actually like attacked me, it was just like, take over the board as quickly as you can. How many turns can you conquer North America? It's like, great. Who gives a crud? So yeah, I think it varies greatly by the player, but I also think it's like, what does the game have to offer? And is your turn engaging enough that you don't care as much about other people? Or do you kind of need that extra like oomph of the other player in some fashion to keep it alive? I don't know.
Mike, I wanted to ask you this, just to back up just a little bit, hear about your history of getting those solo games. Because me personally, I got into modern board games 7 years ago through the game pandemic, and the only reason why I started soloing it is because when my wife Michelle and I played, she loved the theme, but she didn't really like the mechanisms. So I just started solo. I figured out, oh, I could play this by myself. All I need to do is the characters, and that's how I got into solo games. What about you? How did what was the game that really like turned you on to like the solo experience?
Well, first of all, I'm old, and it sounds. How long have you been gaming, Chris? Like in the hobby gaming?
I got really into it kind of like 2011, so 12 years probably.
Yeah, so I've been doing board gaming and RPGing since like 1986, 1987.
Nice.
So it's been a minute. Mainly because my older brothers like played D&D and played like the original like World of Darkness, like Vampire the Masquerade, like role-playing games.
So, Mike, you were there around the whole like Satanic Panic era then.
Oh yeah, nice. A little bit. I mean, luckily our parents were cool. They didn't get into any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was playing with like the original like Red Box, like first edition. I mean, not like Chainmail. I'm not that old, but some of the older stuff and like AD&D and all of that. But so for me, interestingly enough, I was doing solo gaming before it was solo gaming. And I think this is true of a lot of people in a similar situation to me, in that I got into big war games pretty early on. You know, things like, this is getting more into the 90s, by the way, so it is not like in the 80s, but things like Hammer of the Scots, which are these old Columbia, the war game company, would have these block games with like Fog of War, where like the blocks would be facing away from you, so you wouldn't know exactly which units they were and that kind of stuff. Really fun. And then also I was playing like Magic the Gathering and Legend of the Five Rings and Netrunner, getting really into like the CCG craze when that hit. So for all those things, I didn't always have somebody else to play with, so I would just two-hand it, which is to some people still like the main way of solo gaming. Yeah. And that continued into like more modern things. Like I used to two-hand and play solo Combat Commander and like some of those other things. So when it was still pandemic for me, because pandemic is kind of like the real like co-op solo, I think, awakening for a lot of people. But when pandemic hit, I was like, oh yeah, I can play this alone, but I don't have to fight myself. That was right. That was the nice bonus. But yeah, so I guess I've been solo gaming for like 30 years in a different way, but for me it might have been pandemic too. For a lot of people it was pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, and I see Collateral Damage just said Battle. I used to play BattleTech. And again, like nobody wanted to play BattleTech with me. They were like, "What? Action points? What? A PPC? What the heck is that?" So I just be like, and I just play my own characters, and and here's the secret of two-handed play. Anybody in the chat can back me up on this. You always pick which one is the real you, and you really want them to win. You might make, oh, whoops, oh, look at that terrible choice I made, Mike too. What were you thinking? Oh, what an embarrassing flub that was.
Yeah,
totally. Nice.
BattleTech's still going strong, right? They just had a big Kickstarter that raised like over $5 million. Oh
my gosh!
Just like a month ago or something.
And I've heard rumblings of a solo mode. I've not tried to design one myself, but let's go solo BattleTech. I'll cover the heck out of that.
Yeah,
awesome, cool.
I think my first solo experience was probably as a kid playing the Pokemon Trainer Master, like you know when you went around, you collected all the Pokemon, and then you got to the Elite Four and you battled them. I two-handed that. I had all my little Pokemon. It was my first minis game too, because I had all my little Pokemon figures, and like adding them in. Yeah, just wanting to play a game, right, and not having the people to play it with.
So would you do the same thing? Like obviously the Pikachu side would win, and
100%. They were miles ahead of everybody.
The other ones have like coughing, and you're like, who cares about you?
Yeah. Nice. I love it. Mike, thank you so much for sharing some of your history with solo gaming. We're going to start getting to the heart of the show, folks. So if you haven't been here before, what we do is record our top 12 this time for YouTube. And during this part of the show, we will not be interacting with chat. We're just going to hang out with each other, Mike, Chris, and I. And Richard, through the magic of video, he'll be joining us as well.
We'll still have the chat up, though, so we can see your brilliant comments.
Yes. So
we'll just callously ignore everything you have to say.
Yes. And continue to
or
chat
we'll
away.
say them as if they're our own thoughts. That's what I'm going to do.
We are totally
I'm going to be like,
you know what?
I've just thought of this. And you can feed me so I seem like the most knowledgeable solo gamer. That's our goal, chat. Let's go.
We're here to rip you off, folks. So let me get this going here. The top
solo
12
mode chat. That's
solo
exactly
variants. Okay. And while we're at it, why don't we get a battle royale going? Good luck to everybody. Y'all are going to fight down there. The little avatars. This is the best part of the show, Mike, to tell you the truth. This is happening right now. They're going to battle to the death.
All the
one
battle
of them
royale,
wins
they'll
and
drop
gets
in.
100
I mean, I see a bomber like just
here we go.
dropping units. Let's go. There's a war game now. This is my stuff.
Yes.
Exactly.
Good luck, everybody.
It's a solo mode that the computer does. The computer automates.
Well, that sounds like a 0-player game, Chris. I don't know if that's quite the same thing.
Yeah, that's Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I think that's what that is.
Or what was the game that really made a big point? So You've Been Eaten. They were like, we can play 0-player. I was like, yeah,
they did. It's like, great. I don't have to play your game. Congratulations. It can play itself, and I'll go do something else where I have some agency.
Okay. Yeah, but see, you still need to be there. You still need to be like the worker bee moving the pieces.
Right, yeah. You're just doing the work so the game can have a good time.
Right, exactly.
We're down to our final two here. Got a bunch of med packs. Who is that? I can't read it. It is
I'm betting on skeletons.
It's Scary Straw Hat versus Marshmallow Skeleton.
They have won the Battle Royale.
Wow.
It is Andrew Scott. Are you kidding me?
Andrew Scott. I feel like Andrew Scott wins an unreasonable amount of time.
I feel like there's some nepotism.
I agree too.
Seriously.
So Andrew Scott You have won. Congratulations. Spend your 100 gold wisely, friend. And we're going to get ready to start the show here. So what we're going to do, again, we'll start the show. Apparently, we're going to change things up a little differently this time. Richard will start with number 12. I'll go to 11. Chris is 10. And then Mike will be 9. Mike, as we do this, we'll listen to the first person. They'll say their spiel on the game for about a minute or so. Then we come in with comments. Pretty straightforward. Nothing
Yeah,
fancy.
we just make a fun little list.
Henry, it's just
Henry Audubon. We were
Thank
just
you,
talking about
Henry.
you.
Yeah.
Cosmoctopus, baby, Inky
all
realm.
hail to the Inky realm.
That's
hail
right.
to
Chris
the
is
Inky
respecting
realm.
the Inky realm with his shirt.
I'm respecting the Inky realm. I'm covered in it
There it
right
is.
now. It's honestly getting all over my computer, and it's really
This is getting a little bit nasty
hurt me
now,
down
y'all.
the line.
Oh, by the way, also we have a sponsor today. It's our friends from Perk Coffee. So my Perk Coffee shirt unfortunately was in the wash, so I did not bring it. But we'll start the show off with the sponsor intro and then get right into it. And yes, Henry says keep it inky, everybody. Agree.
Keep it inky.
Henry.
Okay.
Keep it inky, keep it stinky.
Keep it inky and
No.
stinky. Wow.
What are you doing, Chris?
Come on, Chris.
Isn't that on the box?
Maybe it is. I
Maybe
don't
I
know.
saw a different box cover. I probably saw a different box cover.
Let me fix a camera real quick before we go live here, or before we start. One of my cameras started acting up. Come on, camera one.
Moondoggy 2K, thanks for subbing with Prime as well. Yeah, stick it to Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
Get the Prime subs.
Is that how it works? Are you sticking it to him?
Yeah, we're sticking it to him.
Nice.
He doesn't
$5
get any
at
ink
a time.
either. We're taking his ink.
Take his
Yeah.
money.
Take his
Okay.
ink.
That camera is.
We gotta stop
good.
saying ink. There's too much ink in here, Chris.
I don't know. I think I've started, and now I don't know if I'll be able to stop. I'm
can't
glad
stop.
there's going to be this transition point though, when we can stop vamping and we can go, because then maybe I'll be able to drop it as we switch, because I know it's going to be a different section.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I
don't
did
know.
remember, this is going back to like 30 minutes ago. I remember the game that I was trying to think of, like the Banana Republic backstabby game.
Oh yeah.
It's called Junta. Junta.
Oh,
okay.
They might
yeah,
even
yeah.
still have like some editions of that popping around somewhere.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, there's a 1916 game, maybe. I don't know if that's the same game though. It looks about the same.
Is
AED
Junta
was
the
involved.
That's a Steve
Alright.
Jackson game.
Oh,
or
there
is
you
that
go.
I know that is it like GMT published the Junta, or I don't know.
I'm sure if GMT does, it's a different game. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
No, that's not the edition I owned.
Okay.
It's all AED right
while we're
now.
here, I'm going to do a check real quick on Richard's video. Hold on. Right now, folks, you're going to see this. Oh, actually, no, I can do this off camera, I believe. Nope, I can't.
Perfect. You don't get to see it, chat. Now
you do
you've
get to
just
see
been
it because I can't do it
tantalized with
off
it.
screen. Hold on just a second.
Oh, you are
Let's-
going to get a little sneak preview.
Yeah, here we go. Sneak preview just for a check. 'cause
And
I
let
want
us
to check
know
the
if you
volume
can hear
level.
it as well.
Okay, everybody, this is exciting. I'm going first on the list instead of last, which I guess is what happens when you have a special guest on. Boy, folks, wait till you see some of the choices, especially Mike's. I can't wait to talk about them. But I'm going to kick us off, but not before. I just wanted to remind everyone.
Here to hear me. What a handsome man.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just heard it, folks. I'm going to have to adjust the volume level on the fly as we go. So we're good. All right.
We're good.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
get
good.
going with the list.
Yes,
The people are waiting.
Chris is ready as always. He's always ready.
I'm
Mike, how you
ready.
feeling? You good to go?
Dude, I've been born for this.
All right. Oh, I
It's
love
gonna
it.
be amazing.
Okay. And folks, again, thank you. Stick around, and if anyone raids us, let them know what we're doing. We will hang out with y'all in chat after for a post show, do some Q&A and whatnot. Then we'll be out of here. So, Boondoggy, thank you for the sub, and we're gonna get going here. Let me get this ready.
Hey everybody, this episode of the R&R&R Show is brought to you by Perk Coffee. And if you'd like to get 15% off your next order, head over to perk.rahdo.com. Okay, let's get the show going.
And welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Ruel. That's my buddy Chris, co-host of the R&R&R Show. And today, for the first time ever, we've got an outsider. We've got a friend that's not part of the channel. Do you like that introduction, Mike? You're an
Wait, is
outsider.
that-
apparently.
outsider.
Is that true?
I'm
the
also
first,
an outsider.
I'm the first like rando you've just dragged off the street. You're
Yes.
like, we don't have anybody else. Get in here.
Come on in here. Folks, this is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, a fantastic YouTube channel. And you can find out all about it by watching the extended version of this show, because right before we recorded this video, we did this live on Twitch, and we got all kinds of great info on Mike and talked about a bunch of games as well. So be sure to click that link below for more information. And before we get things started here, I do want to shout out our sponsor, Perk Coffee. I forgot to wear my shirt because it's in the wash right now, but I did have a delicious cup of Perk Coffee to get me going today.
I had some Perk Coffee.
There it is.
I can't show the label, but here we go. I just finished it all. It was so delicious. It was perky. Really,
also,
I would describe it.
I've filled this to the brim with Perk coffee. I don't really drink coffee, and then I started with Perk, and you know what? I can't stop. I cannot stop it. I need professional help because it's just my favorite coffee in the world.
Yeah,
you know, and I had arthritis, I had psoriasis. Perk coffee immediately gone. It will cure what ails you.
There it is. And again, these opinions do not reflect the opinions of the Rahdo Run 2 channel. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Real quick, before we get to the list, we're talking about the top 12 solo variants. So these are games that are either have solo variants built into them or have been fan-made, publisher-made, doesn't matter. Mike, you're the expert on this. How long did it take you to come up with this list, briefly? And were there any surprises that, on your list that you didn't think would make it as high as they would?
The toughest thing for me is the variant part, because I've done like a lot of lists that are best solo games or best like co-op and solo games. But a lot of those I wouldn't really say fit the definition of variant. Like Spirit Island, I love that solo, but it's only solo co-op, like it's always the same thing. So that was probably the toughest part. And then besides that, there's just like still so many. I'm very happy with the 3 that kind of like I sent in a bunch, and the 3 that got selected. I'm happy to talk about all of them. I love all of them.
Awesome.
Some of them are a little bit older, some a little bit newer, but yeah. That was the toughest for me.
Okay, cool. We're looking forward to it. So, folks, we're compiling this list together. There's 4 of us: Chris, Mike, myself, and Richard, who's going to kick things off with our number 12 on the list for solo game, top 12 solo variants.
Okay, everybody, this is exciting. I'm going first on the list instead of last, which I guess is what happens when you have a special guest on. Boy, folks, wait till you see some of the choices, especially Mike's. I can't wait to talk about them. But I'm going to kick us off, but not before. I just wanted to remind everybody that this is not my first go-around when it comes to talking about solo games. A few years ago, I did a top 10 solo games with Maggie from the wonderful channel Thinker Themer. And I gotta say, those choices still stand, but I didn't want to just repeat the list I've done, which, by the way, you can get to it by following the links down in the show notes. So I am talking about some more solo experiences I've had since filming that I think really would push their way into my top 10 easily. And without any further ado, let's get going talking about those with number 12 on our combined list, Libertalia, The Winds of Galecrest. Now, I am the world's biggest fan of Morten Monrad Peterson and the Otama Factory. I think they do such amazing work. I mean, their whole goal is to bring solo gameplay into existing multiplayer games and always find beautiful, elegant, fast playing, and yet rich and deep ways to emulate the feel of other human opponents with just a deck of cards. And they've done it again. And honestly, I gotta assume this must have been one of their toughest challenges to date, because Libertalia, in case you don't know it, is a pirate simulation where everybody's got the same set of cards and they're trying to outthink each other and outmaneuver each other to get access to the most booty, the most spoils from our pirate raids. And the multiplayer game is so full of doublethink and mind games and trying to anticipate, what are my opponents going to do? I know what cards they have, but when are they going to play them? And is this the right time for me to make my move? And how is that going to happen with an automated deck of cards making decisions? Isn't it just going to be random? But oh my goodness, this system is so smart. First of all, because it emulates a 3-player game instead of a 2-player game, which I love because I pretty much only play games solo or 2-player with my wife Jen, so I very rarely get the sense of a multiplayer game. And the fact that each of your 2 automated opponents function in a different way, one very simple and straightforward, just to kind of clog up the board, and one where you can make guesses as to what they're going to do, but they can surprise you just like a human player does. And with every round trying to decide what card I'm going to play and then what cards they're going to play. It is just amazing. How amazing? Well, here's the deal. Libertalia, in the end, was probably a little bit too cutthroat for my wife and I to keep because we tend to be more Care Bear. And there are some definite, nasty moves you can make to outflank your opponents here. The solo was so good here. Just so absolutely fantastic. I almost kept the game in my collection anyway, solely to enjoy it as a solo game. And to me, that speaks volumes for what an amazing job they did coming up with the solo variant for number 12 on the list, Libertalia, The Winds of Galecrest. Okay, guys, what do you got?
So Richard is apparently the #1 fan of the Automa deck. I'll be 1A because I love Automa decks. I just think it's, for me, the solo experience is all about keeping it streamlined, and I want to be able to play a game quickly and just knock out the time that I have to play a solo game. I want to be able to not have to consult like 20 different charts, roll a bunch of dice. Just give me a card, tell me what to do, and try to solve the problem. And I do like what he mentioned about how it emulates a 3-player game rather than 2. Adds a little more, gives you a little more a few more decisions to make and whatnot. But I'm really curious to hear what Chris and Mike have to say. Chris, have you played Libertalia, and have you played it solo?
I certainly haven't played it solo, and you know what? I haven't played it in regular either.
Oh,
But I have read through the rule book. It was one that I was looking at recently.
Yeah.
I really like the concept of the variability in there with the number of cards, and I love games where you know the information and it becomes that headspace game between your opponent, right? Like
Yes.
that's the thing that I really enjoy in games, and so Libertalia piqued my interest quite a bit. I'm interested to see that being a point that you can still have a bit of that guessing game, which I would never be able to conceptualize would appear in a solo variant of this sort of style. I saw you kind of nodding your head as Richard was saying it off camera. Hey, Mike.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
assume you're familiar.
Yeah, I did a playthrough of the solo mode. I covered pretty much all the Stonemeyer ones. I did a review of the solo mode. I'll pretty much echo everything Richard said. What's interesting is I think Libertalia is pretty rough with 2 players, so I'm not surprised that he called it. Like, I think I played it with 3+ and it was great.
Yep.
I played it solo, it was great. 2-player, they also have a variant to sort of do a 3rd player, and that doesn't work very well. Interestingly enough, the solo works great.
Yeah.
The 2-player, my son and I did not enjoy it. But yeah, no, I think it's good. I think the Automa Factory is great in general. I like Morton and his team's work. I just did what's the latest one? Expeditions. I just did videos for Expeditions, and that one's one of my favorites that they've done. That is so, for what you were just talking about, Ruel, that is so smooth, so quick to play, does everything. And again, they've been playing around with these extra players, and I really think it's cool because in Expeditions they have 2 different mechs kind of moving around and messing with things. It's still only kind of 1 player you're playing against score-wise.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you had a similar thing, I think, with Between Two Castles. You had a similar thing
Did they have that in
Libertalia.
Tapestry as well? Was
Yeah, that's right. And Tapestry had a fake player and a full
and
opponent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing awesome stuff, and I think it's a great inclusion on the list. Libertalia is really good.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right. So way to kick it off, Richard. Let's move on to our number 11, which is going to be me. This game I absolutely adore. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm not going to bury the lead here. It is, let's get up on the screen here, number 11 on our combined list, Baseball Highlights 2045.
Oh, yeah.
I love this game. So I'm a baseball fan, folks, and you can see me playing it here solo on my channel, Tabletop Tonight. I'm a baseball fan, but I'm also a deck building fan, and this game combines them both in the most beautiful way ever. It's really simple. You're basically just drawing 15 random cards, and that's going to be who you're playing against. And if you know the game, those 15 free agents, those are the stronger players. So you're going to start with your basic deck, and you're going to have to immediately, really quickly ramp up your deck in order to compete, because this free agent deck is going to crush you the first game, second game, maybe even the third game. Because I've had games where I've gotten so you're playing a World Series, you have to be best 7. And it's really close. They're sweeping me after 4. I've gotten real close to, them winning 3 games. Then I have to build up really quickly and try to win 4 out of the next 4. But it's so good. As you play your cards, it's awesome because you take 6 cards that's one game of baseball. And I love how they've distilled that down. It really does feel like the highlights of a baseball game. And then after you've played the game, the mini game, you're going to take the cards that you played, add up the currency, and then bring in free agents. And of course, you're going to replace those basic cards. Those are your veterans and rookies. You take those out of the game, trashing, right, in Dominion style. But those actually, they call it theme-wise, sending them down to the minors. So your deck gets built up, and oh gosh, it's such a. I love this game at 2. They say you can play it up to 4, but I don't see why you should. It's just 1v1, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's definitely 1v1.
right,
Yeah,
and then with the solo variant, I can play this any time of the day, any time of the night, and they actually do have variants on BGG where you can do like a full campaign, like a hardcore, like, you know, season. I have not done that yet, but I will. Especially if the Dodgers keep losing like the way they're losing right now, I may have to go to my fantasy Dodgers in my head and see if they do better. But that's why it's our number 11, a wonderful game called Baseball Highlights 2045.
Yeah, I know
Thoughts?
you love that game. You've talked about it in previous lists too, because you're just such a fan, eh?
Yeah, a huge fan.
Yeah, and I love that one too. And especially, like, I'm a big deck building fan too, and I love games like that one where you add cards as you call them. So you keep like this lean deck. You don't have to worry about, like, you know, like I love the Star Wars deck builder, but by the end of that, my deck is like 50 cards, and I might see Darth Vader and I might not. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, totally.
But Baseball Highlights keeps it lean. And in a way, I think the solo is almost more fun because of exactly what you said. That underdog feeling. It is so cool to see you going from getting your butt kicked to finally be like, yeah, I got Babe Ruth now. You know, just crushing it. So, yeah, that's an awesome one. I really enjoy that.
Nice. Okay. Let's move. That's our number 11. Let's go on to number 10. I believe, Chris, you have our number 10 today.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah, this was an interesting list for me to put together because I'm really not a solo player. Like, my familiarity with solo games is very, very minimal. Like I was kind of saying a bit in the pre-show as well. And so that's why I'm kind of excited to be here. And it's something I'm interested in getting into more and more. And so this list gave me an opportunity to think about the games and the styles of games of what I would want to bring to the table solo. Honestly, something honorable shout out. This isn't on the list, but honorable shout out goes to Attack on Titan, the deck building game, because just talking about deck building, that's one that I own and would play solo. But it wasn't enough of like a variant to me. I mean, even though our number 2 is going to be just like a solo mode that I like to play, and it's just because I like to play that game the most. It's solo, but it's fine. That's my cheat, and I don't care.
Is Attack on Titan?
Yeah, Attack on Titan, the deck building game is cooperative. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple.
I still haven't played that, which is embarrassing because I'm a huge anime fan and I like Attack on Titan.
It is. If you like Attack on Titan, it is so good. It's my number 2 game of all time.
Well, hold on, I'm gonna write it on a list somewhere. And get a copy. But continue.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't talk about. Anyway, that's Attack on Titan's honorable shout out. My actual one. This is Le Havre. And so I was looking up a bunch in preparation for this list. I was looking up a bunch of solo. Like I said, okay, what has solo variants that I haven't tried, and what games do I love? And I really legitimately love Le Havre. I found this solo variant specifically for this list. I found it on a BGG thread by 2009 solo play, or I think I had it up too. I was looking at it just recently. I have it on the other screen, but it's a really interesting concept for adapting Le Havre to be a solo game. And the reason I really like Le Havre is sort of the economy of actions. It's by Uwe Rosenberg. You're going down this canal, and every time you move a space, more resources get added to common pools, and you can take those resources, but you're also fighting the other players around the table for, do I take these resources? Is it going to build up too much for somebody else to take them? Do I invest in building buildings? And so it's all about like balancing those resources and balancing those that currency that you need all of it, and you don't want to spend it in different spots. What's really cool about this one, this solo variant, is it's kind of like a beat your score style thing, which I think I'm also of the Atoma or Automa or whatever, however you pronounce it. I think I'm of that mind too. Like I think in the solo experience, I want to replicate fighting against somebody, but I just thought this one was like really elegant. And every time you move along the along the pathway and you're supposed to add resources, you get a choice. If you are taking resources, then you get to add all of the resources to the pool, and that's fine. But if you're using your resources to build a building, then you don't get to add all the resources to the pool. You get to add like half of them, right? There's usually 2 resources that get added, and so the pools sort of slowly dwindle the more you're starting to build your buildings, which I think is really cool. There's also 3 like lines of buildings in Le Havre, and there's this one character that you're implementing here, which just provides a penalty of where you build. So if you're building in where the harbor master is, you have to pay additional resources, right? And then wherever you build from, the harbor master goes to next. So it's all about kind of optimizing and efficiently optimizing how you're going to construct these things. And then in addition, the town keeps building buildings. Usually the town only builds like 1 building every like 4 rounds or something in Le Havre, but every round the town will build another building. The town will build another building. And that's important because you get points for building the buildings, right? And so you're trying to determine which buildings the town is going to build and which buildings you're going to build, and then using the town's action costs you more resources. And so it's this whole snowball of how do you manage your own resources. I thought it was like a really, really slick, elegant solo variant. So that's why I wanted to throw it in there as our number 10.
Nice choice. Mike, any thoughts on Le Havre or Le Havre?
I've only played it competitively. I'll say for all the types of games I do play, like heavier Euros tend to be my biggest blind spot. I play some, but definitely like don't seek them out as much, just because I'm playing with my kids and my wife most often. That's why co-op tends to be very popular at my house. It's like if I was like, hey, my 10-year-old, Harbors, let's go.
Yeah. But I think
that's it too.
I was just gonna say what Chris said, how how streamlined and elegant it is. I think there's something to be said for that, right? Especially in a heavier game like this. You're already crunching numbers and doing all the heavy work in your brain. I don't want to have to do that for an AI as well. I want it to be as streamlined as possible. So yeah,
I think that's why I'd be okay with the beat your point style in this. And then also because it is the heavier Euro, I think that's why I got excited about the solo variant. And my next one too is also going to be in that sort of chunkier Euro variety. And it's literally, I mean, I'll talk about it when we get to it, but it's for a similar reason of like, I want to spend more time with these games, and I can't always convince somebody to like spend 3 hours playing the long game of Le Havre, right? And now being able to experience that and just have my own fun in an effective way, that's what gets me excited.
Nice. All right, great call, Chris. Let's move on to our special guest. Mike, you've got our number 9 today.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta stop calling me special guest, man. I'm gonna
I know.
full of myself. So
it's better than outsider. Come on.
Well, yeah, fair. So my number 9, I do love a lot of war games and historical games with solo modes. Like I thought about maybe putting a coin game, counterinsurgency game from GMT maybe in here. But I went with one that's from one of my favorite designers and one of my favorite YouTube channels, solo designed by Ricky Royal. That's Pax Pamir 2nd edition. So this is from Whirligig Games, Cold World, the designer. And this is just a lovely solo. So first of all, it really does go with the same thing you were saying with Le Havre. It's a tough game to teach. In that, so if you haven't seen Pax Pamir, you're supposed to be like tribal leaders trying to curry favor in Afghanistan, and you have these units on the board, but they're not really you. Like, you might be friends with the Russians, you might be friends with the Afghani leaders, you might be friends with the British, but then suddenly like somebody else might become better friends and steal all the victory points from you. And it's a really tough one. Like, I've taught it to competitive groups, I've taught it to like heavier gamer groups, but it often falls flat because it's the kind of game you really got to invest, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 plays in. And Ricky Royal's solo, first of all, it's not that complicated. It has like one card. Like, you gotta check the rules and kind of remind yourself, but it has like one card that kind of handles all the rules once you're going. It's very streamlined to play. It focuses on your own actions. It doesn't take anything out of the game, so you can still have like there's tons of cards in this game. Like, Pax Pamir has tons of variety in the powers and things that show up. You can go different strategies, and it like meaningfully adjusts to you. You got to adjust to them. So for a game that I don't think I would ever get to my table, this is like staying in my collection. I'm considering it like one of the games I might never part with because of Ricky's solo variant. And I just want to give a quick shout out. This game didn't work as well for me. His most recent one, John Company Second Edition, also Ricky doing the solo mode, also Cole doing the main design. He made a super competitive negotiation game work beautifully for solo. It's a lot, though.
Wow.
You know, Pax Pamir, you can like have one card and you're good to go. You have to be literally flipping through like a 15-page like separate solo rule book every turn to make John Company work. So I didn't hang on to that one. But just like the chops of Ricky to be like, you know what, negotiation, I could do that. You know, he just found like this genius way to do it. So Pax Pamir Second Edition and Ricky Royal in general doing awesome stuff for solo variants.
Nice call.
Nice.
Yeah, this is a game that I've been dying to play. One of my close gaming buddies has been raving about it for a while now, and I haven't gotten it to the table. But now that I know that Ricky Royal's got a solo edition or a solo variant, I'm probably going to pick it up now based on this, because I know this is something my wife Michelle wouldn't want to play. But if I can play it solo, it's definitely something that sounds like my jam. So yeah, thanks for that, Mike.
Yeah, and to be clear, it is in the box. Like, you don't have to get anything extra. It's the Wakan rules. It's in the rule book. You have the cards right there. Like, it's ready to go. Ricky has playthroughs on the channel to walk through, and I have a playthrough. Like, there's lots of places to learn how to do it if it's, you know, it's tough to grok it first.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Let's see what Richard's got for us for number 8.
Okay, I'm just going to take a look back at those 3 entries before I go on to number 8. And yeah, baseball highlights, Ruel, was there any doubt this wouldn't make your list? I think it's a great choice. Wonderful deck building, works so well. I've actually played it as a solo game. It's the only way I played baseball highlights. I did it at a convention years ago, and I was very impressed by it. And Chris, I gotta say, Le Havre is an interesting choice, to say the least. And while I don't think it's Uwe Rosenberg's best, implementation of solo into his standard worker placement fare, I just gotta say, I love the fact that it's on the list regardless, because I just want to give props to Uwe Rosenberg, because he has been so ahead of the curve for so long. All of his old classics, he was always working solo opportunities into it long before it was the cool thing to do like it is now in modern board gaming. And I've never tried it solo, but I've always heard that Le Havre makes for a great, fun, puzzly, solo experience. And then Mike, all right, here's the deal. I was unaware that Pax Pamir, second edition had a solo mode, and I was certainly unaware that it was designed by Ricky Royal, Richard Wilkins. Oh my gosh, that gets me so incredibly excited because, one, Ricky has a phenomenal channel. He is a superstar. I played other designs of his in the past, and while I never really considered playing Pax Pamir, ultimately Shay ended up covering it here on the Rahdo channel. Had I known that there was such a rock-solid solo mode, I would have been all over it. And I definitely want to play this. Basically, of everything we are talking about today, Pax Pamir Second Edition is the one I most desperately want to try solo that I have not already done before. Wow, that was a really, really great one. I am glad you're here, Mike. And I'm glad you're here, Ruel and Chris, too. But anyway, all that out of the way, let's move on to number 8 on the list, founders of Teotihuacan. And, this actually just missed making my top 10 games of 2022. I think it came in at like number 13 because it's such a phenomenal polyomino tile layer that does so many interesting things. The way it handles interaction in worker placement, the way it does tile laying where you want to pack things in tight to be efficient for space, but you also want to leave things wide open so you have a lot of different options. The core gameplay as a multiplayer game is phenomenal, one of the best. But then they go above and beyond with another example of a solo mode that replicates 2 functioning opponents. And again, I absolutely love that. Now, the system for doing it with basically, I can see what all the priorities are of my other 2 opponents, but I don't know necessarily which opponent is going to, strike from turn to turn. That's all nicely done. But what really puts this on the list as a solo experience isn't the way they handle the worker placement. It's the fact that, if anything, arguably, Founders of Teotihuacan is a better solo game than a multiplayer game because they added this whole extra system of objectives. This is not a game where it's just all about trying to beat your previous high score, which is so often the case. When you set up to play, there's like the rulebook comes with this big chart of I forget, over a dozen different specific things I have to do, objectives I have to complete to be able to consider the game won in solo. And every time you play, you roll a die 3 times and choose, okay, wow, this game, I've got to do this one and that one and the other one. I've got to get all this stuff done in the very limited time I've got. And I love that. I would love to see those challenges brought into the multiplayer game because they really enrich the game and take it to another level. So honestly, I'm kind of jealous of solo players that they almost get a better implementation of one of my top 10 games, top 13 games of 2022. It's number 8 on our list today. Founders of Teotihuacan.
I loved Founders of Teotihuacan. That was actually one of my top 5 games of 2022. It was fantastic. Richard, gave a little description there. I would just say, I think I've only played the solo once because thankfully, Michelle, my wife, she loved the game too. So we got to play 2 players, but nice. I love that whole, adding the objectives to the game. I think I agree with Richard. It enriches it, but oh my gosh, what a fantastic game. And I'm going to have to dig deeper into that solo mode.
Yeah, I have not played this one either, although I do like Polyomino, so I'd like to give it a try. It looked really good from what Richard was talking about. I do have to say, though, I feel like my choice for the first round definitely won. Right? That was the winning choice.
Nice.
Y'all are cool. Not quite as cool as me, but you're fine. You're fine.
Oh, yeah. I will never win. Let me be clear. Mostly these shows are me putting forward, bearing my heart and soul, and then Richard saying, Chris, no, that's not good. So, I mean, hey, that's the best review I've ever gotten, both, on stage and in this show. So I'll take it.
Nice.
And also, you know what? Richard was right. I had forgotten this, but besides like Pandemic, I played the heck out of Agricola's solo mode.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Uva really was trend setting and like way ahead of the curve, being like, hey, you know what? Solo mode, baby. Why not? Like everyone else was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Way ahead of his time. Nice. Okay, so let's move on to our number 7. That's going to be back to me. I picked a game that I really enjoyed multiplayer. And this one didn't become a solo game until the pandemic. It is our number 7 combined list here, Santa Monica. So during the pandemic, designer Josh Wood decided, hey, I'm going to create this solo game during the pandemic. I'm just going to take, people had asked for it. And he came up with the rules, and now it's a thing. It's like an official thing. It's part of the new editions of Santa Monica. You have the solo game. It's a really simple implementation. All you need is a D6. And you roll and then consult a very small chart, and it's basically blocking you from doing certain things. Santa Monica is a wonderful tableau builder, and Josh Wood is doing a lot of cool things with tableau builders these days, folks. If you haven't already, check out in the show notes for a link to our Let's Go to Japan run through. He also did that, another tableau builder, a lot more robust and complex than Santa Monica. But what Santa Monica does, it really captures the vibe and the feel of Southern California. I'm a native Southern Californian, and we don't always go to the beach every day, but when we do, it's 99% of the time going to be like this. Real chill, just a real chill vibe. You're going to walk down the boardwalk, see the sights, and eventually you want people to go where they want to go. So, you want to bring your tourists to the boardwalk. You want to bring, your locals to their shops and whatnot. And in the game, you're just drafting cards in your tableau. I think it's eventually going to make 13 columns or rows. And at the end, it's really neat. You're going to try to walk those people. During the game, you're trying to walk them to their certain spots that they want to score points. But at the end of the game, I think you get one last chance to move them a certain number of spots. So it's got a little spatial element to it. I feel like this game sort of flew under people's radars when it came out. I mean, it's a really solid game, but I mean, it came out in the year. There's a bunch of other things that were just bigger hits. But I think, folks, if you're looking for like something that's been a little overlooked, check out Santa Monica, and be sure to check out this solo mode because it's very, we've used the word elegant a couple times. It's super elegant. Roll a die, pick the action, and it's going to block you there, and then you continue playing the game. There's no change in gameplay from your point, so it really does feel like a multiplayer game where, well, a two-player game at least, where that other player is always sticking it to you by taking what you want. So that's why it's our number 7, Santa Monica.
Nice.
Yeah, Oh, sorry, you go first.
No, go for it. I was just gonna say I love the art in it. It's just so charming. That's all I was gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Well, now along with Attack on Titan, I've written this one down because Jeremy Howard from Men vs. Meeple. Do you guys know Jeremy?
Oh yeah, Jeremy's great.
Yeah, so I love Jeremy, and he told me about this game when it first came out. He's like, "Oh, Santa Monica's so great, you got to play it." And I was like, "Solo mode?" And he's like, "Nah." I'm like, "All right, never mind." Because I got to do so many games for the channel. I don't really have time for competitive games only. Yeah. But yeah, I always thought it looked cool, and I had no idea that they had gone and like made a solo mode for it after the fact.
Yeah, it was really
excited about it again.
Yeah, it was really cool because I remember during the pandemic, like everyone, we're all just sort of sitting at home. I'm literally following the thread in BGG. And it's like Josh, like he goes, "Hey, check out the solo mode I made for Santa Monica," and all those these comments. They're like, "This should be a real thing," He's like, "Oh, okay." So he revises it. Then one day it's like, "Oh, by the way, here's the file on BGG. It's an official thing now." And then there it is. So yeah, it was really cool to see the development of the solo mode.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, let's move on to number 6. Chris, you've got it, my friend.
That's me. Yeah, so this one is another long Euro, and that's kind of the reason why I'm interested in it at all solo. And also because I feel the pressure when playing with other people to take my turn quickly, and I don't want to. I want to take my time, and I want to look at all the cards, and I want to find my optimal move. And I feel like this is one of those games where I can't if my competitors are playing quickly and are saying, "Okay, let's not make this a 4-hour game," which very well could be. This is super popular Ark Nova. And I played this the other day in preparation again for this list to make sure that it could be on this list, right? And it's so simple. It's such a simple implementation. You have a certain number of turns before the AI will break for you. Will cause the break to happen, and then they'll move one of their cubes and block a spot which could have gotten you points, but you were too slow, and you need to now be quicker so that when they keep on blocking you, they don't run out of cubes, and you can get in on those spots. And I just think it's a really great way of having sort of a timer on your game, and then giving you the availability to play and experience all that Ark Nova has to offer, all the different combos. None of the base game changes, right? Because Ark Nova is basically a solo game anyway. The only real thing that you're competing over is maybe somebody will snap a card that you want from the row, and maybe somebody will, take those association actions, the second side of the association action where you pay and you get points, right? I can't really think of anything else in which I compete over. That's the break, right? And balancing the break of when your new income is triggered. And for me, it's a solo variant. It's a variant that gives you all of that and just allows you to play the game. And I think it's great if you've played Ark Nova and you're like, "Oh, it's fun." But like, if you're like me, I'm like, I just wanted the first game of Ark Nova I played, I did not know what anybody else was doing whatsoever the entire time. Like, not even. It would come around and be like, "All right, I'm playing my card." And then they'd go around and be like, "Oh, and you played the Austria. Oh, no, okay, it's my turn again." Right? It's just horrible. I don't like playing. I'm the type of guy who likes everybody to talk out their move because I'm excited for whatever they're doing and I want to learn what they're doing. And so with this, it lets me just kind of play the game at a lower pace, not worry about that timing, and still enjoy all that Ark Nova has to offer. And you can even play it on Board Game Arena solo. If you have it on Board Game Arena, if you've got that thing, you can play it as solo on Board Game Arena. And that's exactly what I did. I let the computer set it all up, and then I just played my solo variant. I was like, yeah, that was fun. Did I need to wait for other people to make their turns? No, I didn't. I got this done quicker. I had the same experience, and I can now have more time to do something else. So yeah, just across the board, really enjoyed that as a solo variant and appreciated its inclusion.
Yeah, a great call, Chris. It reminds me of when I was learning Terraforming Mars. The first time I'd played with players who had played before, and I'm just like, wait a second, can I read half these cards first before y'all make your moves? And I think there's something to be said for having, then when I really learned Terraforming Mars, it was when I was able to solo it, right? I was able to just take my time, look at all the cards and try to figure out how they're going to synergize and then play my turn. And I think it's almost the same situation as Ark Nova, right? I mean, people have called, Ark Nova the Terraform Mars killer, but, there's a lot of similarities to it where it's going to take you a while. That first game, like, my first game was a 3-player game, and I was just like, I need some extra time here, folks. And I don't like to take up people's time like that. It's like, I want the game to move on and, flow smoothly. So I think a solo variant comes in handy in these type of things to learn the game, because you're learning the game anyways. So why not do it solo and be ready for that multiplayer experience? So great choice, Chris.
Yeah.
I love it.
Am I using my mute button correctly? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, you're good.
Tell my kids to be quiet.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, my children just got home, so they're Tears of the Kingdoming it up, and we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah, so this one, this is one of those like casualties of being on a team. Colin from the channel played Ark Nova on the channel first, and once he does, suddenly my entire impetus to play it like goes down dramatically.
Yeah.
But I've heard great things, and I know a lot of people swear by, now this would take away some of the fluidity and like kind of the simplicity of what you're talking about, but a lot of people swear by the I think it's Arno, ARNO of fan made variant that kind of like I think keeps more of like the competitive kind of mechanics in the game. Yeah. But either way, I do hope to play this someday. I am on BGA, so maybe I'll do that. That sounds like a good thing.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of the best BGA implementations of a game I've seen.
There we go.
Like, it's really slick. It's
gonna make it
really
happen
slick.
this summer.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. So let's move on to our number 5. Mike, it's all yours.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for this one because it's such a new game, but whatever. I played it a ton already. This is Heat. Pedal to the metal. Let's go.
I don't think you should feel bad.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I am a racing fan from way back. I used to play Formula D and Formula 2 before it was D. I played like Snowtails. I never loved Flamme Rouge that much, which I know is with the same designer team, but I never liked that one that much. And then Rallyman or Rallyman GT. I went all in on the Rallyman Dirt campaign.
Did you get the Rallyman cars, the metal cars?
Well, no. Well, hold on, Chris. You might not know, but Rallyman Dirt never delivered because the company went bankrupt, and like all the copies are stuck in Canada. Maybe there's like a vague chance maybe we'll get something someday. Whatever. But
I'm up here. You let me know, and I'll break into the warehouse for
you. There you go. But yeah, so either way, maybe this would have been Rallyman spot, but not anymore. Now it's Heat spot. But yeah, so I said I like opposing racing, well, not just racing, but any kind of automaton that like kind of replicates a player. And the cool thing with Heat is how they've done it. They replicate a real enemy, but it's 5 cars at once if you want it to be. And it takes like 10 seconds to do like the turn of 5 cars. It's ridiculous how quickly they go. Because I love Rallyman, both the time trial mode, but that's not as exciting because then you're not racing other cars. And I love the like semi-official Dr. Worm fan variant that I think became like official kind of, where it has like NPC cards, like AI cards going. But man, Heat is just so much smoother than that. And it's also great to like fill out a competitive game. Like my son and I will play and we'll throw in 3 or 4 AI cards just to like give that full feel, give enough people that you can slipstream on. Yeah, so all you do is you flip a card and it has the numbers and it tells you how far to move them. And if like they're near a corner, it tells you how they handle the corner. It's so ridiculously clever. It's so simple. It's got like some similarities to what Flamme Rouge did, which was like a solo expansion. But here it's out the gate. It's in the base game. It is lovely. If you like racing, I think Heat, first of all, is excellent. I know it's like taking the world by storm and it's like really hard to find a copy. So I hope they get more printed soon. But yeah, I think the solo mode is like one of my favorite things about it. And it lets you use basically everything. It doesn't play entirely nice with all the modules. Like you can kind of build your own car and like add cards. And that kind of makes you better than the AI in a way. But, whatever. It's still fun. So, yeah, I love Heat. I love the solo mode for it. Best racing solo variant I've seen. There aren't that many out there, but it's the best one. So, very happy that this exists and have been having a blast with this one for a while now.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Mike. This one, I actually did the run through here for the Rahdo channel. Folks, you could check out the links below to find that. And just incorporating that, it's literally just a small deck of cards, right? And you just flip them over, like Mike said, and it tells you how far the cars moves. And you can do it for, up to, 5 cars and have a full-on race. And it's just so just brilliant the way they've done it. And I mean, I like the game multiplayer, but I have liked it just as much as a solo game as well. Chris, have you been able to play it? Or because I know
No, I almost got to play it at Dice Tower West.
Okay.
I knew because it was in the hot games room at Dice Tower West, but the tables were always all full.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a racing fan though.
Okay.
I've had bad experiences with racing games taking too long, and I know that Heat like plays pretty snappily, so I'm still interested in trying it, but I'm not like running through the streets pushing people over to get the. You know what? Everyone can get their copy first.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I can ease into it at some point.
Yeah,
But,
you're not
Well,
putting
and
the
it's
pedal to
not
the metal
fi-
to get your
like-
copy. I get it.
There are lots of bad things with racing games. Like Runaway Leader
Yeah.
is literally what racing is, you know?
Yeah.
And Heat doesn't fix any of that. Like I've had games where I was like, definitely in dead last, definitely not going to make it anyone better. And I'm like, just like putter it around, you know? So yeah, no worries. It's fine to not like racing games, but I do, and this is a great one.
Totally.
Nice.
Agreed. Okay, let's we're at our top 4 now, folks, and it's time for Richard to bring us into number 4.
Okay, 3 more excellent choices. Well, I did not know there was a Santa Monica solo mode. I have no idea. I mean, look I love Santa Monica. I put it proudly, with some of my best games of all time, and I am very stoked to give that a go. Seems really nice and simple, and I thank you for sharing that and getting the word out. I bet you most folks don't know. And Chris, Ark Nova, an excellent choice. The solo mode is very, very simple, but I think it's really important what it does. Ark Nova is a race game at its heart. And I have noticed more and more these days as heavy, crunchy Euros that focus on, hey, look, we're just racing to achieve a certain thing as fast as we can. They sometimes have a problem amongst in multiplayer games where people just kind of dilly-dally because they don't treat it like a race. You see this a lot with Alexander Pfister games too. And so I think the idea of, hey, you know what? Let's reinforce the fact that this is a race. I mean, I forget what it is. You get like 20 or 25 turns or something like that in the solo, and that's it, fixed. So you feel that pressure nonstop. Pressure that on a certain level, unless you're playing with the right types of players, you don't feel in the multiplayer game. I mean, I almost kind of felt like when I was trying the solo mode of this, that its core ideas should be brought into the multiplayer game as well to make it a better experience. And then Mike, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. I've really got to try this game someday. I really, really do. Real did a good job of recording it on the channel and showing off how, I mean, again, I just love this idea that, hey, when I'm playing solo against the automated opponent, it's not just against one, it can be against a whole bunch because the system is so clean and simple and it goes as fast as the cars themselves, and it's a very, very excellent choice. But continuing on with the list, let's talk about my number 1 on the list and our shared number 4. That has got to be Stars of Akarios, which, for folks who don't know, is a very, very big, ambitious space opera game. Think Battlestar Galactica meets Gloomhaven crossed with Seventh Continent. And that is a very potent and powerful combination of stuff. And here's the deal. When I first started playing Stars of Akarios, my wife, she was traveling, so I basically had like 2 weeks with the game playing it only solo. I didn't actually get to play it multiplayer until months later when she was back and we were able to make the time to give it a go. And I gotta say, folks, Stars of Akarios, rated as a solo game, would have been my number 1 game of the year of 2022. I think it is a phenomenal experience. And I so appreciate the developers did the extra work, because a lot of times games will say, especially games like this will say, yeah, of course you can play it solo. You just have to control 2 characters, or in this case, 2 spaceships and space pilots that are, engaging in, intergalactic dog battles that are very reminiscent of Gloomhaven, but driven by dice as much as by cards. But they did the extra work here for all the missions to scale all the way down to where, no, if I'm playing solo, it's just me and my lone fighter up against, waves of bad guys. I ends up feeling a bit more like the old classic playing solo X-Wing for folks who are old enough to remember that back in the day, and I loved it. I thought the AI system for the enemies that you use, whether you're playing multiplayer or solo, well, it can be sometimes a bit swingy and a bit cattywampus, but it felt so good and so exciting. And then, the fact that this was a big job they had to do, not only turning a space combat game into a viable solo experience, but also a planet exploration game that they did a great job on too. And I was just absolutely blown away by this thing. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, when my wife finally got back, and a little while later, we finally got to play it, the game was kind of problematic for her to play. She had a really tough time dealing with the spatial relationships. In the same way she has a tough time playing asteroids, because hey, once a ship is facing towards me, I have a hard time, in my brain keeping track of, if I rotate, which way am I going to face, and all of that, which is a big part of the game. It's all about positioning your ships to deliver attacks at the right time to the enemies while staying one step ahead of them. Anyway, though, this game makes me wish that they had done the extra work on Gloomhaven to make that truly soloable as well. Yes, there are a few specific solo missions for Gloomhaven, but here you can have an epic journey, Battle Beyond the Stars style or Star Blazers style, and you can enjoy it. It's fast to set up and play, and it is just absolutely wonderful. If you're looking for an epic solo adventure that will just give you so many hours of fun time, and you love some of the sci-fi references I'm making, you might want to check out number 4 on the list, The Stars of Akarios.
Yeah, Richard had me at Battlestar Galactica meets Gloomhaven. That right there, I'm all in. I remember him talking about this game, but I have not seen it out anymore. This one definitely flew under the radar because I didn't hear much about this game. But I know that Richard really loved it, and as a solo game, it sounds pretty awesome to me.
Yeah, it was another one of those big box Kickstarters that were out there, right? Yep. And big box Kickstarter campaign set in space. But I'm glad. I thought it looked cool. Like, I think a lot of those end up looking really neat, and it's just great to hear that it delivers on the promise of enjoyment, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of call shenanigans though. This is a solo co-op game, and the fact that you can play a true solo does not make it a solo variant, in my opinion. Like, should I have too many bones on here? That's a co-op game you can play true solo. Like, I don't know. But that being said, I did like Stars of Akarios. I covered it for the channel. Last year was a tough year for campaign games because, we also had Oathsworn. We also had Aeon Trespass Odyssey. I like Stars of Akarios. I didn't like it as much as either of those, unfortunately. But I like it. But by the way, me and Richard need to hang out because I never heard anybody reference Star Blazers. I used to watch Star Blazers. My middle name comes from the show Star Blazers. Like, that's wacky. What? People don't even know what I'm talking about when I talk about Star Blazers.
Wow.
But yeah, no, Stars of Akarios is good. For me, I love the ship combat. It really is like Gloomhaven, some of the mechanics mixed with really fun, kind of like X-Wing-ish, trying to dogfight people and get behind them and stuff. I don't think the planet exploration was as successful, but I'm glad Richard enjoyed it. Yeah, good game. Again, not sure it should even be on this list, but we'll leave that alone.
So again, folks, you're watching Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop. This will be his last time on the R&R&R Show. I love that you call it shenanigans. We're going to have to talk to Richard about that.
And I guarantee you, Mike, you're not going to see any more shenanigans coming up. As our number 2. I guarantee it. It's not going to happen. If it is, I'm sure it's Ruel. It's on Ruel's end, and he's going to put up the wrong thing, and I'm just going to have to go with it. But we'll see. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right. I do love that I just spent a little bit of time saying, I really don't like racing games. And then Richard goes, Chris, good job. Ark Nova, it's really a race.
I know, right? Some way or another, Richard finds a way to mess with you every single time. Love it. Okay, let's move on to our top 3, folks. This is it. Number 3 is going back to me. I had a deck building game here earlier, and I didn't do this on purpose. I just, I submitted my list. We have a third party who combines them all, and I'm happy that this showed up because it's one of my favorite deck building games. It combines a word game as well. It is Dominion meets Scrabble. It is Paperback. Now, I'm specifically talking about Paperback, the 10th anniversary edition, which you saw my run through here on the channel a little while back. Wonderful solo game. Again, this is for word nerds like myself. I love word games. I do the crossword. I do, Wordle, all that stuff. But what this does now, the original Paperback, again, it is Scrabble meets Dominion. The original Paperback, you could play it cooperatively, and you could by doing that, you could also solo it, right? But because our good friend Mike is here, I wanted to pick something that was actually soloable, that had a solo variant built into it, and this 10th anniversary edition does it. As you can see there, you have the tableau cards on the left, and you are thematically you're playing. I think you're you're trying to find out the spy. You're like the spy master or whatever, and it's a little AI cube that goes around in a specific pattern, and you're trying to every time they stop, they're going to put a cube down. If there's ever 4 cubes, then you've lost the game. Now, what Paperback does, it's brilliant. It gives you a list of actions. You roll a die. Whatever die it lands on, that number, that's what the AI is going to do, and that prevents you from doing that action, so you have to pick one of the other 4. So these actions are like take off cubes, add cubes, move yourself, blah, blah, blah. And you're doing this while you're still playing Paperback. You're still building words, and in true deck building fashion, you build up currency, use the currency to get other cards. Those cards have abilities. They go into your deck. Hopefully you can trash out some of the weaker cards. It's so good, folks. I mean, it takes everything I love about Paperback and makes it better in every single way. And this is actually something I wish, and actually you could. I guess you could play this cooperatively, but to try to beat the AI, it's not easy. I played it several times, and I definitely have lost more than I've won. And I like that in a solo game where it's not just automatic, right? If you know the game. Because I think I have a better vocabulary than a non-existent opponent, right? But in this, I have to be able to take those cubes off. I mean, I can sort of figure out their pattern, but again, am I going to make the right choice? Like maybe next time they're going to roll a different die or a different value. That'll change things up. But yeah, Paperback, folks, it's a winner, multiplayer and solo, especially the 10th anniversary edition. That's why it's our number 3 on the list.
Rel, have you played? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Have you played Paperback Adventures yet?
I have. Absolutely love it.
It's great. I don't know if I'll ever play Paperback solo because I think that one is such a good design, and of course it's made for a solo from the ground up.
You're right. It's basically I like to jokingly call it Spell the Spire. It's Slay the Spire.
Yeah, no, totally. That's good. I like that.
So
that's a good name.
I was
that's really good.
Is it out at retail yet? I forget.
I don't know.
Because that's the only reason why I didn't put it on the list. I thought it hadn't delivered, or maybe it just delivered. I don't
also, that's not a variant. That's the only way to play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, that's what I was thinking.
I don't see it like on Amazon, but maybe it's somewhere. I'm not sure if they've got it out.
I know they crowdfunded. I'm pretty sure they delivered, or it was close to being delivered. But anyways, that's why I went with the OG. I went with Paperback 10th anniversary edition. But
see, now I gotta get a copy of it because I feel like this is two lists in a row where I feel like Paperback has been on it. Wasn't it on our last list too?
It might have been. Yeah. What was the list we did before?
Or it was recently. It was definitely recently. Like I remember us talking about it and you getting me really excited about it. Now I'm still excited about it.
Well, apparently I just talk about the same games every list, Chris. No matter what the lists are, I can talk this into being a race game too. So there you go.
Well, that'll be next list. Top race games. Paperback, Ark Nova.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Nice. Okay, Chris, you got the second game on our list today.
All right, now listen. I know that I'm cheating here, okay? I knew I was cheating when I put it on the list, and I didn't care. Because, and here's my reasoning. You can play this game with 2 or 3 or 4, or you can play it solo, varying up your play style. Sounds like a variant to me. No. But the reason I put it in, the reason I really put it in is because I am not a solo player. Like I'm really not a solo player. Like I'm really sort of like the antithesis of diving in consistently with games. And this is probably the one game that I own that like I actively will play solo. And I think that is sort of a noticeable, or at least like good information for people who are kind of like me and who want to like dip their toes into solo. This is something that it's by Chip Theory Games, and Mike, you've already said it. It is Too Many Bones that I'm putting on this list.
I mean, I'll say at least the bosses are different with Too Many Bones. You have an entirely different set of encounter cards with Too Many Bones. Like the true solo mode, more than Stars of Akarios, the game actually changes in major ways for Too Many Bones. So I'll forgive you more than somebody else, you know?
I appreciate that. And also too, even like the complexity of the characters, which I really love.
Right.
You have like a solo complexity and you have a co-op complexity. And those are generally different. And that to me gets me really excited to play each character solo, because I'm like, okay, this does interact in a different way when I don't have someone else to fill in the gaps, right? Yeah, I mean, Too Many Bones is no stranger to solo lists. I mean, any chip theory game, honestly, is no stranger to solo lists. It's just fun. It's one that I'm really looking forward to. I'm excited to take a look at the Unbreakable content. It's just great fun of checking dice and working out your own skill tree. And like you said too, just the slight differences in the encounters and in the bosses is fun as well. It's one that I think, you know, works potentially best at solo. No more than 2 players, honestly. I said you could play it at 3 and 4, but I don't really think you can. Well, you can play it and then you cannot enjoy it. So you can do that if you want. No, but it's just like, it's such a slick system. I love all the differences in the characters. And I think it's just a blast to pull out, chuck dice and have a good time with the variants of enemies. Yeah, just love it.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that chip theory production, right? I mean, top of the heap here. I mean, they set the standard, I think, for a lot of game companies. I mean, just the chips and the playmats and whatnot. Oh my gosh, I love their games on the table. The table presence is amazing.
Yeah, and Too Many Bones is one of my top games, like probably top 20 of all time. So I adore it too. Again, I wasn't sure if I could include it on this list, but I love it.
I knew you wanted to. That's why I
Yeah.
got the message. I got the DM on the side as we were filming, and I switched it. I fell on that sword for you, Mike. So I'm just
Hey, speaking of swords, I'm required to say all chip theory games are good because they sent me a sword once. So
Oh, I got one of
did
those
they?
swords
Nice.
too. Yes.
I think that's actually not a generous gift. I think that's a threat of what they will do with it.
I'm
But
still
yeah.
waiting on my full suit of armor from
there you
Chip
go.
Theory
Yeah,
Games,
yeah.
since I did not get a sword. But
and
I
actually,
know they'll make it up to me with a full suit of armor.
a different chip theory that I would say has more of like a solo variant. It was on my honorable mentions, but I won't mention that right now. But yeah, I love Too Many Bones. Awesome game.
Great choice. Okay, Mike, you are the man. You got the top pick of the list, and take it away.
All right. So yeah, this is funnily enough, this is maybe the one I would least recommend to the average solo player because it is the hardest to get into of maybe all the ones we've mentioned today. But this is the solo solo mode. It is a mood for Root from Leader Games.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I got 2 Cole World designs, although he didn't design the solo for either of them. Interestingly enough, I think he's better off when other people do his solo modes. Oh God, you got a video of me in like a sweater? What's going on here? So Root, I'm sure everyone knows Root, but if you don't, it's like kind of area control. You're trying to get victory points, extremely asymmetric factions, and how apparently it's swingy obtuse though. It's weird to watch a video of myself. they should have pulled a playthrough. But yeah, so Root is another one of those, like some of the other games I've mentioned previously in the stream, like Exceed and stuff, where I love the game and there's so many cool factions and I want to play it all the time, but nobody else knows the factions. And it's really a challenge with this asymmetry to get it to the table because you kind of got to like understand everybody's faction. You got to kind of teach them like what everyone is doing. So first of all, the fact that I can get the game to the table is great, but then the way this was a fan-made variant at first. I don't know if you guys know that. It was it was like the Better Bot Project made this, and then they were like, hey, because so what happened was the first expansion, the like Riverfolk expansion, had the Clockwork bot for just the cats, just the Marquis de Cat, and it wasn't that great. Like I played it, it's kind of a little bit of a mess. And you know, again, I love Cole. He does awesome games. I don't think he does great with solo. I don't like Oath's solo either that much. But yeah, so then the Better Bot Project, this guy came in, loved the game, made this amazing bot, and Leader Games saw it and liked it enough. They worked with him and they made it the official one. And he continues, like there's more stuff in the Better Bot Project than what's been officially released for the Clockwork expansions. Because at this point they have 2 Clockwork expansions, so most of the factions are like iterated in the game.
Yeah.
And you know, not everyone. I've tried this competitive, and it can get a little wacky. Like sometimes the balance is weird. I've tried it. They have a co-op variant in there, and it's a mess. Don't play it because, like, they don't really know what the heck they're doing. The bot's not really made for co-op, but for solo specifically, throw in like 2 or 3 other factions in there. You have to love running the factions. Like, this is one where if you don't want to look down charts and like run through it and kind of be the computer, like you are the computer and in a video game would like be taking care of all this stuff. If you don't want to do this, this is not going to work for you. But if you don't mind that, and I don't mind that because, again, I played like coin war games and all this stuff where you have to run lots of factions. It's just beautiful to see like the interplay, how smartly the AI works with each other, how like I learn how to play the factions better sometimes watching what the AI is doing, even though they play differently. Yeah, like I'm like, oh, I should be going for that kind of thing. Oh, I should be trying to capture more of those. So it's really like a cool thing they've achieved just from like an impressiveness standpoint. But then on top of that, again, just being able to play one of my top games of all time with so many different factions and to splash in whatever the heck I want, and it's gonna function. It's awesome. It's a great, and again, like I'm a fan-made solo designer, so it kind of gets a leg up because of that. Like this guy just made it happen and lived the dream. Like got the official mode. Is like, man, this is so good. We're gonna use your stuff. I just love the story there too. So yeah, Root is my #1 solo variant. Love that game.
Fantastic choice.
Nice.
I have not been able to play it yet. I do have the Clockwork expansion? Is that the one that has
there's 2 at this point, but the first one had like the basic factions.
Yeah, I have it on my shelf. It has not been played yet, but I'm glad that you brought this up, Mike. The fact that you can watch, the AI play and try to get better at it by seeing what they do. I love that in solo games like that, where you're actually going to improve your own play by going through it. So I think that's a great thing to talk about.
Yeah, Root's one of my good friends, their favorite game of all time. And when they teach it, how they teach it is they pass out a computer and they say, "Hey, go do the tutorial of all the factions in the computer game, and then come back and we'll play Root." And I'm like, "All right, good way of learning." It's a very good way of learning. But yeah, you really need to know all of those factions, right? Like they're so varied, and the more that you throw in, I've only played with the base 4.
Yeah,
I haven't played any of the expansions yet, but because I feel like I've just scratched the surface really with the base 4.
Yeah.
But
nice.
That's cool. That's awesome. Really cool.
Well, and what you mentioned is a wrinkle with Root Solo, because gosh, that Direwolf app for it is so ridiculously good. You don't even like necessarily, like I love the game.
Right.
I don't like playing app board games that much, so I don't personally play it really.
Yeah.
But it's like if I'm like recommending, I'm like, well, let's go play the app. It's kind of better.
Right. Nice. Okay, folks, that's going to do it. Those were our top 12 solo variants. Be sure to check out the extended edition of this video, folks, because we record this live on Twitch, and Richard actually talks about a few more games as we do. So be sure to click the show notes below for that link. Want to thank Chris, as always, for co-hosting the show, and a big thanks to Mike for joining us today. Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And that's going to do it for today. Folks, be sure to visit Perk Coffee, where you can use the RRT15 code at checkout for 15% off your next order of delicious Perk Coffee. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care. So long. Bye-bye. And hello, we are back for the post-show, folks. We did it. Woo! Oh, what
and
a
Henry's
list.
still here with us. Yay, Henry.
Yes, everyone is here. That was great. That was fantastic. Chris, I was cracking up while I saw Too Many Bones show up in my little list. I was like, yes, he's going to talk about something Mike just talked about. Perfect time.
Yeah, I could see you laughing. I was like, oh, Ruel knows. Yeah. I'm going to say it.
So,
no, yeah, that was good. But now we got to do our honorable mentions in our...
Yes.
Wait, so Andrew did ask, does Richard have something to say? Did Richard do a video about our top 3? Do you know?
He did.
Yeah,
so
I think he does.
He was talking... he did already. Now we're going to... go back? Is that what it is?
No, because he said number 4, so he hasn't responded to.
Yeah, is there a last clip to play?
Okay, sir. Well, that's what I thought we were talking about. I thought that was. I got mixed up. So why don't
his honorable mentions will probably be in there? I'm assuming.
So
let's find out together.
Let's do that together. I'm going to
the magic of the internet.
Yeah, we're gonna edit this in. Let me move over this scene. Magic of the internet. We move over here. Okay, so. Let's find out what Richard has. Okay, folks, here we go. All right, so let's find out what Richard has to say about all of these great games.
Okay, folks, before we go, I just wanted to weigh in on those last 3 entries. Ruel, I have to admit, I am so freaking jealous that you ended up covering the 10th anniversary edition of Paperback on the channel, because I had no idea how fantastic that solo mode was. It's incredibly impressive. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I think I might still prefer Paperback Adventures as a solo on Paperback take, but this is so cool, and I wish they had a multiplayer iteration because it was so smart. And Chris, Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones is way too big for me, way too long. And if I were to ever play it, I think solo is how I'd want to go, because I think that's how you can get it down to around an hour, right? When it's just you up against all the bad guys. And so I very much appreciate that. Although, as I understand it, isn't so much of Too Many Bones all about, the interplay between players, and a lot of that goes away? I'm not quite sure. If so, it's kind of a bummer. I kind of wish they had kind of approached it maybe in the way Oathsworn does, where, hey, if I'm playing true solo, I've got my one character. Oh yeah, the other characters can still be there in kind of a simplified sidekick way. But even still, again, Too Many Bones in an hour has got to be a good thing. So it makes sense to include that one on the list. And Mike, Root. Oh my gosh, you are a braver man than me. I tried playing the automated cat faction that was in the original box with Root, and honestly, I didn't think it was very good at all. Just kind of a pain to manage with so much stuff going on. Really, it's probably only good just to have a test dummy so you could practice with factions before you play the way it's supposed to be against real players. But as I understand it, those Clockwork expansions that came out afterwards are really, really good, and I guess they must be for you to put it so high on the list. So that is good news, everyone, I gotta say. And speaking of good news, folks, we're just starting with all of this solo stuff. If you want to hear some more solo goodness, well, head over to the extended edition of this episode, because in the post show, I imagine the gang is going to talk a little bit more about maybe some preferred solo stuff. And I'm hoping that Mike talks a little bit about, I don't know if he's too humble to bring it up in this run through, but the fact that he is a fairly accomplished solo variant designer himself. He's got a bunch of really good ones out there, like, Radlands. I watched a bit of his video for that, and it looked really, really good. So, actually, there'll be some links for some of his stuff down in the show notes right now, so you can check out Mike's work in the solo sphere. And then if you want even more solo content, folks, might I suggest heading over to a new geek list I made on BoardGame Geek called solo.rahdo.com. That's where you point your browser, solo.rahdo.com. Link for it again down in the show notes. That is a list of every game that has been covered on my channel in solo mode over the last decade. There's over 200 games there, plus the top 10 I did with Maggie from Thinker Themer a few years ago. Plus this video and its extended edition where you can hear more stuff. And again, Mike, I want to hear in that after show if you could spend a little bit of time talking about how you approach design, or heck, maybe you did it in the pre-show. Folks, cannot recommend that highly enough. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to throw it back over to you guys to close it out.
All right, so there you go, folks. Our top 12 and Richard's thoughts on those final ones. Mike, I want to thank you again for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And until next time, folks, we're going to send you all out with some Perk Coffee. Be sure to check out the website, perkcoffee.com, and use the RRT15 code for a discount on your next order. Take care. So long. See you later. Bye-bye. And hello, back to the post show.
I felt like I was
again.
in a time loop. What is going on here?
Anyway,
nice
Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody, make sure you check out Perk Coffee. Wait, no, shoot.
Yeah, it's like, what? Oh, excuse me. I still got the post-COVID cough.
It's so hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Because Richard's recording ahead of time. The Richard's like, hey, how dare you put too many bones? What about the cooperation between characters? I'm like, what about Stars of Akarios, Richard? Like, literally, that game has tons of, modules for your ships that support other characters. There are player powers that support other characters. You can, like, lead a ship toward you so the other person can get, like, a shot behind on them, like, flank somebody. It's fun.
I love the shots being fired from, different time zones. And before and after. Real quick, let's go over the games that didn't make the list from ours. Chris, you want to start us off with the ones that did not make the list?
I mean, I was struggling just to get 3.
Yeah.
But here are the things that I'm interested in playing solo as well. It's mostly games that I love, right? Like Anachrony. I don't know if you guys have any experience with Anachrony solo mode.
I don't.
But I feel like that one is one that I want to try down the line, right? They have their own. It was an expansion. It was in the original box, and then they took it out so they could make it cheaper. But I think I have it in my box, and so that's one that I would want to try. That was like
Nice.
I was trying to justify it, but then I was like, nah, I can't. I can't because I haven't played it. So you know.
Yeah, no worries. All right, cool. Yeah, I would love to play that game solo, but I have not had the chance yet. Mike, got any highlights that you want, games that you want to highlight that didn't make your the list here?
Yeah, so I'm trying to find my email that had like the 6 or 7 I sent, but one that I know that got cut was Cloudspire, which is another chip theory one.
About, yeah.
Yeah, and that one I would say is like more an actual different mode, like than Too Many Bones, because the Cloudspire, I do think I will say this on the record. I think it is best as a competitive game when you have experienced players who know what they're doing. I think the crazy way I'm a big asymmetric faction and like powers and characters kind of guy. It's just like what gets me excited for games.
Yeah.
But when you like mash the factions together, it's so much fun. But man, the solo mode, which is like has narrative, it has like a different campaign for every single faction. Every faction they've released, they've made a new solo campaign for. So like when they made the Bugs, the Greege, they made a solo mode for them. When they made us the Uprising and Horizon's Wrath, the Air Pirates, they made new solo mode like campaigns for them. And it's really like a puzzle. The scenarios themselves are tough, and they have like unique rules and unique things. You gotta like use different factions, use different units. But then, like, they have all these different, like, little objectives, and, like, you can do this one and win, but, ooh, maybe you want to play again and, like, optimize and figure out a different strategy and beat all 4. So it really rewards, like, replay. So, yeah, I really like that one. I'll stop with that and try to find the rest of the list that I said while Ruel talks about one.
It's all good. We're just out of time, almost out of time. So I'll just pick one from my list that didn't make it. The game Three Sisters. This is a roll and write. That came out last year. Absolutely love it. One of the crunchiest roll and writes I've ever played. And I think the solo mode, I forget, it's like the name of a farmer or something that you compete against. They do a really good job of simulating the multiplayer game. And just going back along the lines of what we talked about earlier, I like the solo mode Three Sisters because that game for a roll and write makes my head hurt. And I need all the time I can take to think out my moves. And I mean, it's one of the few roll and writes that gives you like a notes section. You're writing notes on like what combos you have coming up. So I need all the time I can get. So I like to slow things down, play the solo mode with Three Sisters, and it's still a really good challenge. You know, going through that rondelle, trying to figure out what moves and stuff. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us today, folks. Thank you.
Before we finish up, I do have here's some other games where I really wish somebody would create an awesome solo variant. For them. Tyrants of the Underdark would be great.
Oh yeah.
Radlands, Wonderland's War, BattleCon, Devastation of the Indians, that would be cool. Sakura Arms, Super Fantasy Brawl, Galaxy Trucker, Quirky Circuits, Magic Maze, Volleyball High, Vast.
I almost feel like you're reading down a geek list. It's very interesting.
Galecrest, Skullwood's base game. If only somebody out there could create really great, cool solo modes because they love solo games and just bring that to the people. I don't know. I think that person would be pretty cool.
Maybe one day.
I agree.
Would be maybe the best guest we've had on the R&R.
Well, the only outsider you've had, so right, like it's a low bar.
Mike,
I'm also an outsider.
Before we get going,
this
Mike,
is the only thing I do.
Please talk a little bit about that geek list. You've got all kinds of solo variants that you've created. Just a quick overview and what's on there, and the floor is yours.
Oh, well, I mean, So again, I have the One Stop Co-op Shop, YouTube channel, podcast, streaming channel. Lots of stuff on there, solo and co-op. I did, as Chris just mentioned, I have a geek list.
That was you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, on Board Game Geek, I have a geek list of all the solo variants I've created, including the games Chris just said. I also have a video on the channel playing through every single one, so you can kind of see it in action and get a tutorial of how to do it. So yeah, I love solo games, love cooperative games. I also, to pitch something else that is not me, Liz Davidson and what are their names? Jason's on it sometimes. I think we had Mark Dainty recently, but the top 200 solo games they do every year. I've been on that several
that's
times.
a good list.
Nice.
Yeah, for the podcast and video, if you really love solo games, jump in there. They'll have more than enough to wet your whistle and get you feeling happy about solo.
Nice. And folks, yeah, be sure when you watch this video on YouTube, there's show notes below. You will be able to find all the links to the geek list we talked about here. That's going to wrap it up for today, folks. We're going to send you all on a raid. Again, big thanks to Mike and to Chris for doing the things. And we're going to send you all to our friend Paula Deming. She's playing games right now. Stick around for the raid because you get extra channel points which you can spend here on the next episode of the R&R&R Show and Twitch Tuesday, which is now Twitch Monday for the summer.
Now Twitch Monday.
Yeah.
And hey, if you get tired of Paula in half an hour, you can check out me over at Codenames Live at Tim Riel's channel.
Yes.
So that's where I'm going next.
There it is. Yeah, let's go. Let's watch. So who are you teamed up with?
Let's go to Paula first.
Yeah, we'll go Paula first. Who are you teamed up with today, Chris? Do you know?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm teamed up with somebody. It's their season 6 finale or something. It's actually Tim's birthday. So he I couldn't turn him down.
Yeah.
I've been turning him down. He said, "It's my birthday, you're coming." I said, "Okay, okay, yes, I'm sorry."
Nice. Okay, we're definitely gonna go check that out. Folks, be sure to check out Tim Riel's channel, Codenames Live, with our friend Chris. Mike, thanks again. Appreciate it, friend. And we'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody. And we're waving. We have rated, I believe.
I think we've rated.
Check, and we're good. Okay, so we're stopping stream.